Like I mentioned in the previous video, many times we take corporate reality and representation for granted. Think about it. What heads and representatives do has an effect on the individuals within their institution. Do the actions of a company's CEO affect the company's employees? Do a father's actions affect his family? Of course they do. Representation is a reality in both of these organizations. Well, what's the difference then? The difference is that one is a contractual relationship, which is the company, and the other is covenantal, a father and his household. A covenant is entered into under oath. This oath binds the oath taker to the covenant institution. God has ordained 3 of these institutions to represent His authority in 3 different spheres. These are the household, the church, and the state. Now, these institutions, with God's authority, are to carry out His rule in history. He designed them, and He appointed them. He gave them authority to represent His will. What we have to understand, though, is that He gave to each of them heads or representatives, and He also gave to each their own jurisdiction or area to govern. And then to each of them He gave unique sanctions, or reward or discipline that they can carry out with God's authority. Now, some might argue that if all 3 of these institutions come under the rule of Christ, it creates a recipe for tyranny. But it actually limits the power of Satan's tyranny. We all know about the tyranny of the church in history. We also know of the tyranny of the state, as well as the tyranny of family dynasties in history. When all these institutions do not represent the will of God, or when they try to carry it out differently than prescribed in Scripture, the result can be catastrophic. There is one ultimate authority whose one revealed law governs all 3 of these institutions. This limits the opportunity for human tyranny and carries out the will of God in history.